Well, welcome everybody to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview business and agency leaders to grab any insights that we can. And today I'm joined by Alfred Leach of Leach Advisors. Alfred, how's it going today?
Yeah, things are good. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well too. Yeah, we're getting into the afternoon over on my side of the country and just about to hit that midday lull. So I would love to start, Alfred, to learn a little bit more about yourself and Leach Advisors.
Yeah, so I by career am a who's worked at in-house corporations, but also at a couple of the top global firms, Hill Knowlton, Burson Marsteller in my career. Years on the corporate side at the New York Times, Deloitte, Dun& and Bradstreet, and a real life-changing internet startup, IXL in Atlanta, well, back in '99 when during the first bubble. And so I've got a good perspective on client in-house expectations and agency deliverables and kind of managing the balance between the two of that. And that's really helped me as a consultant in the latter part of my career.
So, and I think, well, I know that Leach Advisors specializes in enhancing corporate reputation, especially for those mid-cap brands navigating significant changes. And I guess I'm curious, how do you guys tailor your strategic communications approach to address those specific challenges faced by companies undergoing the M&A or restructuring?
Yeah. So we start with what Simon Sinek calls the why. And it's really understanding with the CEO. Usually it's one-on-one when we're kind of getting acquainted with them. I'll sit with them and say, why does your company exist? Why should employees come to work every day? Why should clients buy from you? Why should anybody care about your brand and what you guys are doing? And they have so many things going through their brain, right? At any given moment, finance, operations, client issues, legal issues, zoning, real estate issues, product issues that they sometimes say, wow, I know the pitch, but I haven't really given enough thought in that regard. And so that's kind of where help them understand and unpack a little bit more about the value of their vision, right? That it needs to be cohesive. Maybe it needs to be refreshed. And we do that as part of our strategic communications, corporate communications. When you're in the midst of a corporate transaction, whether it's a restructuring from within the company or it's a merger, right? Or you're being acquired, um, you then have to think about taking where does one and one equal three, right? Taking your vision, making it part of another with the acquiring entity. And it has to be greater than the two parts together. There has to be an enhanced why. So that's kind of a narrative that we really help companies figure out. Working with them, we don't do it alone, but and that builds a sense of trust, respect for the capabilities of everybody around.
Right.
And we've been very successful at that. We're very good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what you said about asking those questions, especially that first question that you asked, where why do employees want to come into work every day? I think companies, especially as they're going through their high growth phases and all of that, it's easy for that type of stuff to get lost. We are only focused on growth, and so we only do this. And so asking that question, so you're kind of focusing, it sounds like on the internal, like internal operations of the company when you ask certain questions, and then on the external, obviously, as well. So it's this kind of cohesive strategy. Is that right?
Yeah, there's always been a question, who are your assets as a company? Are they your employees or your customers?
Yeah.
Right? And it's a chicken and egg because without your employees, you have no customers.
Right.
Okay. So you really have to put equal weight and value on both. And with a branding campaign as part of let's just say it's an M&A deal where you've made an acquisition of a company, you're the majority, so you're coming out with your brand on top. Employees need to be empowered to understand what does this bring to them and bring to
Yeah.
the community that they can be proud of and purposeful in, right?
Yeah.
How does it affect their day to day in a way that maybe makes them acquire new skills horizontally or
Or-
enhance their career growth? Maybe it's making more money. There's a variety of different incentives. Maybe it's what's the commitment to making the cultural integration, right?
yeah.
Better. So employees touch customers, right? They go home, they talk to their spouses, their partners, their friends, their community members. They interact with customers. They are the face of your company 24/7. So you really want to make sure you're investing in them and understanding what their needs are. A lot of employees, by just recognizing them and saying, thank you, I recognize you, will go to the ends of the earth for their employers. It's not always about money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So making sure that your communications are aligned and understanding what the needs of your employees are,
Mm.
not necessarily their skill sets, but their true needs, right? As to why do they come to work every day? What makes them proud to be there? That's really important. And so companies that invest in communications have a two-way dialogue with their employees to understand each other's needs, right, and priorities, and be aligned on that. Same thing with customers. We have to understand what are the customers' needs, right? And um, there you have competitors, and employees have competitors as well, right? Because they can leave and go to another company. They have the choice. So you want to make sure you're investing in customer communications and employee communications during the time of any kind of rebrand, corporate transaction, restructuring. It's really important.
Yeah, that's super insightful, especially that part about employees touching customers, because it's so true. And I don't think a lot of companies think that way, but they go home and they're usually talking, especially if you're a large company that, like the CPG company, for example, your employees are likely touching, oh, they're either your target market or they're likely touching somebody in your target market, that's super interesting. I guess I haven't thought about it that way. And I know that your agency's focus includes branding and web development, and even speech writing, right? How do these diverse services work together to be a cohesive strategy that strengthens corporate reputation during transformative times?
Yeah. So look again during a transaction period or an evolutionary transformation period for a company. Start with why, start with the narrative, building the narrative out, right? For your different stakeholder groups, employees, supply chain partners, customers, shareholders, investors, whomever, regulators, community, mm, understanding what their different needs are, coming up with a cohesive and well aligned message platform that the communications are going to really be aligned across all those different stakeholders. And then you basically have a script, and it's a matter of then looking at the brand. Do we need to refresh or change the brand identity to show change, right? To connotate that we're changing. What do we do with the website? Do we need a new ad campaign, right? Does the CEO, during his or her first 100 days as part of this new change initiative or acquisition, they need to roll it out. It's kind of like a roadshow, right? They're going to talk to employees, they're going to talk to customers, they're going to talk to the community. So it's really, once you have the narrative down, you design from the narrative, right? From the script, just like a movie.
Yeah.
Uh, it's how does it affect the brand? And also, then how do we roll that out through advertising, through web, through social? There's a statistic that 75% of executives that they believe in terms of a corporate transaction, M&A, that the investment in brand integration is really important to the success. But only about 56% of them spend 6% or more of the deal value on the integration. So it's still got a little bit of way to go, yes, but it's getting there. I think more and more today, companies recognize the value of getting your communications and your branding right versus wrong because you lose market share and where you get product boycotts and it takes a lot of time to recover from.
Oh, yeah. It's becoming, especially in the new generation that we're moving into with Gen Z. I mean, I think that the branding has become more important than ever. It wasn't this. The branding was it seemed to still be a thing, obviously in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and I know there were some like legacy companies like Coca-Cola that were definitely focusing on that. But now more than ever, there's been this need for one-on-one. Like, how can we use our brand to chat with our market one on one. And I've seen that trend in Gen Z where they need that. They are not going to buy from Coca-Cola if they don't agree with their CEO, right? They're not going to go somewhere if they don't agree. And so I like that you guys, it's this huge cohesive strategy. And have you guys seen a little bit of a shift with like, the emergence of Gen Z and how you guys, communicate your clients to their target market?
Yeah. So again, unpacking that why, part of it is what's your purpose, and looking at each of your different stakeholder groups. Yet it's not one piece of communication or message track that's going to cater to everybody. They do have unique interests, but the word woke comes up, and it comes up, it not necessarily as that four-letter word, but it comes up. And you mentioned the 40s or 50s. If you had a job with a large multinational or international company, you had a job for life. Today, you're lucky if people are 2 years at a job, right? It's not always the case, but there's a lot of competition for talent, right? And I think that Gen Z and millennials know their value, so they don't give away freely. But you need to stand for something that they relate to, that they care beyond money, beyond profit. And but it's a fine line. To what extent should a company really take a position on a social issue versus supporting a nonprofit organization in the community, right? With donations or backpacks for kids back to school. Or, there's a balance there, and that debate's going to go on. We're not going to solve that on this interview, but it's something that you have to consider when you're looking at what motivates and what really means something to your multi-generational employee base. So there are different affinity groups, larger companies. The middle markets really don't have them as much, where they have these conversations. And that openness, that transparency is really what good communicators and brands that recognize the value of the brand equity and loyalty, right, that their stakeholders have, that community purpose, et cetera, is all a part of that. But it gets challenged every now and then. And whether it's with a spokesperson who says something wrong or a social issue that somebody takes a wrong position on. So, but at the end of the day, I think the pushback from those things we all learned from, and hopefully we're learning for the better, right? Moving in a positive forward direction from it. So I think there's a role for companies in that debate and that dialogue, but it needs to be navigated and considered carefully.
Really? I want to dive into that a little bit too. For these middle market companies that are aiming to increase their valuation, I know we mentioned a couple here already, but like if there's any more, like what do you think are the key branding or communication strategies that have the most direct impact on stakeholder confidence and market perception?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's really having, if you're a service provider versus a CPG company, I mean, it's building that loyalty, that trust, and the intrinsic value that your company has. And that can be through product innovation, which comes from understanding customers' needs, right? So it's new and improved to take care of X, Y, or Z, whatever ails you or whatever your needs might be. So it's a lot about companies listening, not selling, but serving their customers. Listen to what their needs are, and and then innovate accordingly, right? To come back and provide a better product, service, solution that caters to demand. That's how you grow. It's a bit generic, but strategically, that's part of the sauce for sure. We work a lot also when we're with a company doing research up front to understand the stakeholders and the customers' needs. We work with sales because they're the front line to the customer base, right? Now, the CEO will also touch a lot of customers, meetings and dinners and things too, as part of client relationship management and listening, learning from what their needs are. But we work a lot with sales. So it's really about, again, refining what the intrinsic value is of your services your company's ethos and purpose to meet expectations, which evolve over time. They don't remain static.
Yeah. Wow. As I hear you speak, I hear a lot of experience. Obviously, you kind of know the game. You've been doing it for a while, which is awesome. And this has been a super insightful episode. Alfred, where can people find out more about you? Where can people find out more about Leach Advisors?
Sure, leachadvisors.com, and my contact information's on LinkedIn, Alfred
Okay.
Leach.
Cool. And I'll have everything linked in the show notes to make it easy for anybody who wants to reach out to Alfred. Alfred, thank you so much for being on. This is great.
It's wonderful. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Thanks.